from the proposals and choose the,
Actually, no. Actually, they codify what the city council tells them to, because without us saying we're willing to back and make the commitment to pay, there is no deal. So in reality, had there been the Bruce Thompson Arena deal, that was a private public proposal, the council would have picked that. They get a play, but they are not the say. They are the vehicle to finance, they're the vehicle to allow you to avoid the Virginia Procurement Act for non-competitive bidding. They're all those facilitators and enablers, but they are not the decision maker.
okay, so
Plain and simple.
if you directed them to adhere, council, to a different sustainability plan that adopted his recommendations to go to Gold Star standard rather than LEEDs, they would have to do that.
Well, remember, it's not the development authority. It's when if we were to do this building, the city engineers and the architects and all that would do all this stuff, and then they would turn to the development authority and say, this is what we're gonna go do. They do that part. They're not deciding the nature of the building. They're not deciding any of that.
Okay.
Well, John, I think maybe what you're asking is, if city council instructed Public Works,
That's true.
and that is the group that is responsible for building and maintaining city buildings, and then there's a similar organization on the school side. If they were directed to change to Energy Star versus LEED because you've changed the sustainability plan, then they would have to do it. But right now, 100% of the people on this sustainability committee are tree huggers, and they're not going to do it on their own. The only people who can make them do it is city council.
Okay, thank you.
How about, would you elaborate a little bit more on your idea that buildings are?
Well, it was in observations of, I built out a few spaces for the state. I built the Henrico Police Department where I've sat in meetings, and then I've also built out spaces for Fortune 50 companies. And it's the same thing happens. There's this mid-level guy or gal, 35 to 50 years old, who's quote-unquote the project manager. But that project manager has to do what the user group, they're building it for a user. He's not building it for himself. He's not in these departments. He's in. So when the director or the senior vice president or the executive vice president or whatever, or the GS20 or whatever's the high level, tells a GS 10 what I don't know which one's higher. Whenever the higher guy tells the lower guy what to do, the lower guy has a choice. He can either do it, keep his mouth shut, or he can open his trap, and he gets labeled to be a troublemaker, and when it gets time to be downsized, he's pushed out the door. So that's why I say czar, so that this guy can say no, and when he gets the pressure, he just picks up the phone and he goes, hey, building czar, this person wants me to do this, and the czar calls, Director ABC and says, hey, ain't the plan, you can't overrule it, I got the budget approved, this is how I'm building the building, and that's it. And if you bring it up again, I'm going to tell the city manager you're going to get your red card. All right, who hasn't asked a question yet?
We're talking about the word sustainability as if we're going to have some kind of permanent, low-cost energy source with these new systems like geothermal and solar and all. But every building or development has to go through an environmental study to see the impact on the environment, right?
Nope.
No?
No.
But, there's a lot of political correctness against all fossil fuels and
True.
fracking. But there doesn't seem to have the same political emphasis on looking at the environmental impact of these new systems such as solar, windmills, geothermal. How does this affect the aquifers and I mean, all we talk about of sustainability.
I build office buildings, warehouse buildings, and shopping
Right.
centers. I
There-
don't know
You
about the
don't
rest
have
of
to
this.
go through environmental impact.
The only environmental
studies.
that you have to go through, there's two things that always we chew our fingernails a little bit on, is we do have to do our site plan approvals, and over the past 8 to 10 years, the requirements for what are called best management practices for stormwater loading and runoff speed, I forget, velocity. Those have all been up, so your areas where you dump water after a rain have gotten bigger and more complicated and way more expensive. So yes, those standards have increased, and for site plan. The building codes have also been increased, and the business has gone that more of the systems today are more energy efficient than they were 10 or 15 years ago. But there's no requirement to do it. So you'll get it. The real answer is most of my clients, including if they're a government or a business, say, you know, we want, if you will, this, and I'll use it in your term, this SEER rating on it. We want a 16.5. So that's their minimum, and so that's what I do. I can build it as 18, or I can do something higher, but that's got a little bit more cost involved, and you will have a more efficient system. So, gentleman in red. I'm not ignoring you, but I'm letting more people ask questions.
That last slide you've got up there, and some of the other points that you made about that, is that possible to put that online to the, say, the VBTA, so they can distribute it? So we don't have to write it all?
I've got it in a PDF format. Did I send you the PDF? I think I sent you the PDF.
Yes.
So Dane's got the PDF. I changed one or two things on here. I would say, if I was going to put it out there, I would update at least the geothermal part, because that's all changed now based on this coyote wheel thing. Yes, sir.
I have a different question. In your introduction, your biography mentioned that you serve on the Bikeway and Trails Committee.
Yes.
So I have a Bikeway and Trails Committee question.
Lay it on me, brother.
So, I have a really nice bike path that costs the city a lot of money. I live off of Middle Parkway. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful. And we have a bike plan of several hundred miles of interconnecting trails that actually goes into Norfolk, blah, blah, blah. It's a very big, elaborate thing.
Sure.
The problem I run into is none of the people who are riding the bikes ride on the bike path, except like my wife and I who go to beach creatures and puppy dogs. But all the guys in the spandex outfits with the weird hats are riding in traffic, which by the way happened to me today to get here. I was tied up behind a bunch of bikers taking over the road. So, from the Bikeways and Trails Committee, you mentioned kind of tree huggers. My question kind of goes towards this. There's a lot of efforts being made that I see to reduce the lanes for cars, set them aside for bikes, and to migrate over this, but nobody ever seems to be talking about the expense like you just did with this analysis. 1 mile of road without bike paths equals X, but 1 mile with them equals Y, and the substantial savings of that is astronomical. Nobody talks about the benefit of these bike plans, but you're on the Bikeways and Trail Committee. Where is there, I guess my question goes to, from a taxpayer point of view, I don't understand why we're paying so much more for this when there's no benefit to it that I can see. And lastly, the people that use it are not paying for it. The people that drive on the roads, and there was a bill put into the General Assembly by Rosemary Wilson to allow VDOT to continue to maintain with gas tax money for drivers, bicycle lanes, while reducing the number of lanes, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts about what you hear on this Bikeway and Trails Committee, and why are we doing this?
Well, first let me ask a question. I came here to give a presentation on
Okay.
this. And if everybody wants to talk about this, I'll talk about this. But if that's not what I came here for.
I was just curious.
So if you want me to answer that question, I will. Who wants me to answer that question?
I would love to.
Okay. I'm a big bicyclist.
Okay.
I ride all the time. I am the proud owner of an electric bike. And my wonderful girlfriend just had her birthday, and now she is the proud owner of it as a gift. And so I love riding bikes. And here's my main thought on it. When you read all the articles, oh, by the way, I'm the liaison to Bikeways and Trails from the Parks and Rec Committee, which means I am a non-voting member of that committee. I don't vote. I'm allowed to express my opinion, but I can't vote on anything. I think we have a 34% obesity rate in this country. We have fat kids. We have our survey that we take every 5 years where we ask the citizens of Virginia Beach, what are your top parks and rec priorities? And for the past 30 years, it's been the same two things: more bikeways and trails and more parks. Quick step aside, so tell me why we're spending $42 million on a recreation center where you can be outside for 10 months out of the year that has a 1/10 of a mile running track in it that costs $1.1 million when that would buy you 3 miles of path. So it's what the citizens want, and when we study it and we look at Europe, the best way to stop bicyclists from being killed is to set us a distance to separate the bicyclists from the cars. Now, I appreciate you got caught behind Tidewater Bicycle Association or Team Junk or whoever it is that runs out there, but they're running at 25 miles an hour. So, you know, they're moving. So I would tell you is...
But that was a 55-mile-an-hour road on Middle Parkway. Just saying.
But go, you got 2 lanes, go around.
But I couldn't because of the traffic, and in addition to that, there's a bike path all adjacent that no one is on.
That's for me and just my girlfriend. Yeah. And the little kids on tricycles, and there's no one on it now. That doesn't mean there won't be later.
I just was going to say that the park next to me, and I live over off Holland Road, cost $75,000 to start to build, and it's used like zero during the day. Your rec centers and everything are used more for childcare during the year. To have these big parks and all this money going to that, I just wonder how many square feet of people there'll be. I don't think they're used that often. People are not outside like that.
Well, I would probably beg to differ on you that the majority of parks are not only utilized, but heavily, the majority, I'm not saying all, they are used. It is what the people always say they want. Dane's on the committee with me. He knows the survey results as well. I mean, that's what people want. And that's, in my opinion, that's where we should be spending our money and separating.
His point is, as we've increased the density of the city, unfortunately, and that's not a choice I voted for, as we've moved away from the 10,000 square foot lot as a standard family home, open space is used a lot more than what people think of it out there, because people do not have any open space where they live, so they have to take their kids to the park. Because we've made a choice, bad choice, I think, but they are heavily used. I think that's true. We are subsidizing bike riders, that is true. And if you went out and told them they had to buy decals and taxes for their car and buy a decal for their bike, they probably wouldn't like it. But the parks are probably, give us some relief from those neighborhoods where we have just decided that everything's a parking lot or a house. And if you go out there, you will see them at Lake Mount Trashmore. Now, the neighborhood parks, I think where the footprints are kind of small, they are underutilized. That's from a bad policy when we let people build something that they gave us a 25-foot postage stamp. It gets back to the scale thing. So they are underutilized. We're going to be thinking about that. But from terms of parks that have the scale that allow us to do the multiple use, we probably don't have enough. That would be my guess.
But getting back to the bike, this elaborate plan that we have, I can understand why we might want to do that in addition to the roads. I just don't understand why we would be decreasing lane capacity, having the people that paid for the lane capacity and need additional lane capacity pay for all the maintenance of that.
I didn't vote for that. That's Virginia Municipal League, push that. Rosemary Wilson's the president of it. It's a bad idea.
I
It's a
have an
bad
answer
idea.
to what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just said. In real estate, I end up having problems sometime, and I have to talk to my lawyer, and I think I'm always right. That doesn't mean that I don't settle sometimes, and the reason I do is what he told me. He said, Hugh, an ounce of passion is worth a ton of logic. When you have 2, 3, 4 people killed on Shore Drive riding their bicycles because there weren't paved shoulders, you have people getting hurt because they're not separated, the passion associated with that outweighs every dollar consideration. You are not going to win that fight, period, because people are dying. It's that simple.
Okay, going back to,
Back to the presentation.
Back to the
All right, are we on the parks? Parks and Rec, bikeways and trails.
All right, well,
Okay.
thank you for that answer,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I never hear anything about the bike and trails thing, like I don't know what you guys are discussing.
And I will point out, you will see, probably next week, I think, the annual report for bikeways and trails is, correct me if I'm wrong. Ian,
okay,
that
I
comes out
actually
next
have a
week.
question. I wasn't, okay. For Energy Star and Leeds, is there a component that talks about safety? Because Virginia Beach, especially the school system, seems to like to build floor-to-ceiling windows. And when we have these severe issues with tornadoes, et cetera, there are no interior hallways. For the new old donated Brickell Center, they send all those kids into the gym, and then they tell you that that's not where you should be in a tornado because that's the first roof that's going to go, the highest area. In College Park, well, let's just say, thank God we didn't get the tornado because there would have been a lot of injuries and deaths. So there aren't interior hallways. So is there anything when we're looking at these certifications that has an element of safety? Who says that you should have floor-to-ceiling windows when you have geothermal? Or is that just the architect's?
That's the architect and the engineer conspiring to raise their fee and whatever. But safety, other than basic fire safety and electrical safety and that sort of thing, that's covered in the building codes. If there is some other set of standards for security and other things. Intruder drill, I mean, I'm sure that, like the Navy's got one. I know they have one. But I don't know if there's a general thing for that. I've never heard about it. And for tornadoes and things like that, we did recently, in the last go-round of the building code, we did have our wind speed raised, that all the building components now have to be able to, survive. So that's why we've got the tie-down straps now. That's why we've got the more expensive roof systems. People are doing different things with their windows. So, but that only takes you to, I think we were raised to either 105 or 110 miles an hour from 80 or 85. So it's going to help you for category 1, maybe category 2. But again, this is one of those common sense things. If it's more than category 2, get the hell out of here. Leave. Don't stay. Yes, sir.
Unrelated, but it's been a long time beef of mine. Talk about what kills people on our roads is trees. We've got all these roads with nice wide medians, so if someone lost control, they probably wouldn't go all the way across. We put trees there, and there's accidents. They hit a tree and they kill it. Shore Drive is another example. I'm going down there towards 4th Story, where you see the signs people killed, they hit a tree. If we put on guardrail, it's just a comment of mine, but I think this beautifying of our city by putting trees so people lose control of their car, they kill themselves.
You are not a tree hugger, right?
It doesn't have anything to do with the conversation.
You're not a tree hugger, you're a tree cutter, I can tell. You're reaching on your trunk, I bet you do. All right, hold on, let's try and wrap it up. Mr. Dean.
I will have to wrap it up like this. I happened to be on council when Shore Drive was being considered of cutting down all the trees along the edge of the roadway because of the amount of deaths from drunk drivers. So I pull up the calculator, and at 55 miles an hour, is what it was at that time, your car is traveling 81 feet per second. So if you veer off the highway, in 1 second, you're already 83 feet out into